I don't know about you, but to me it seems hard to believe that it was 10 years ago that BMW launched the i3. Now, I love the i3. I think it's a great little car. I don't just like it because the way that it looks, I like it because the way that it drives. I like it because it uses innovative and sustainable materials in its construction. Then BMW did a really odd thing after the i3. They stopped innovating. In other words, apart from the rather weird looking, although admittedly brilliant to drive iX, all the other electric cars that followed in BMW's range have been sort of electric versions of combustion engine cars. The iX3, the i4, the iX1, the i7. I mean, now that is literally just an electrified 7 Series. So why, after such a promising start, have they chosen to go down that road instead of the road that they chose with the i3? But then maybe it's us that have got it wrong. Maybe in fact what the Bavarian car maker has actually been doing is giving us electric cars first and combustion cars second. So maybe it's our mistake. And if that is the case, then perhaps this is the car that's going to prove that we were wrong all along. Welcome to this week's road test review. Welcome to the new BMW i5. And as always, welcome to AutoEV. Now, before we get started on this week's road test review of BMW's new i5, it is of course that time where I would ask you to make sure that you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure you press the little bell button that's down below, because then that way you'll get a notification when our next video is uploaded and has gone live. Once you've watched it, if you do enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and of course don't forget, leave us your comments down below. Let us know what your thoughts are on the cars review, such as the new BMW i5, and of course the AutoEV channel as a whole. Now, I say what is hard to believe now, that the 5 Series is now 51 years old. 5 decades we've had of the 5 Series, and it has always been the benchmark in this sort of large executive cars, probably even more so than the 3 Series in the class below, because the 5 Series has been the yardstick by which all others are judged. Now, this is the 8th generation of the 5 Series that we've seen in those 51 years, and like the i7 that came out last year, what BMW have done is they've given us the electric version first, with petrol and hybrid models coming on stream very, very shortly. There's 2 models available, like you get in the sort of like the i4 model. There's a standard eDrive 40, and then there's this, the M60. And like the sort of like the M50 version of the i4 and the M60 version of the big iX SUV, whilst it's not a full-blown M car, it is the one that has been fitted by the M department to give a much more kind of sporting kind of prowess to the range. But before we start, let's take a look at what the BMW i5 is all about. Well, like I said, this is the 8th generation of the 5 Series, BMW's mid-sized executive saloon. The car is launched in the UK first as the electric i5, with petrol hybrid engines coming on stream soon after in the standard 5 Series. There's initially a choice of 2 i5 models, the single motor eDrive 40 with a power output of 340 brake horsepower, or this, the dual motor i5 M60 xDrive with 600 brake horsepower. It has a usable battery capacity of just over 81 kilowatt hours and can produce a range of up to 320 miles on the WLTP cycle for the M60 and up to 362 miles on the eDrive 40. And prices start from just over £74,000 for the eDrive 40 and end up at just under £98,000 for the xDrive M60. And it's that M60 that we have here on test. Now, when we drove the i4 when it first came out, we found the M50 version of that struggling a little bit to be sort of like our favourite of the range. In fact, we said that it was the eDrive 40 that was our favourite of the 2 i4 models. So how's it going to be in the i5? Are we going to fall for this hedonistic horsepower? Or are we going to be clamouring and wishing that we actually had a Mercedes-Benz EQE here instead? Well, of course, the only way that we're going to find out is by putting it through the road test that actual car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric car, the AutoEV one. Alright, let's crack on. And as always, we start with styling, which hasn't exactly been BMW's strength over the last few years, has it? If we're being honest, the few models that they've launched over the last few years have been, well, let's call it challenging, let's just say that. However, the 5 Series, this, like the 3 Series, is the crown jewels in BMW stable. And maybe apart from that era when they did the E60 model with Chris Bangle's head of design, other than that, with a 5 Series, you can't be too radical. You've got to play it a little bit safe, because if you get this wrong, well, you may as well just shut the doors and go down the pub. And I'm pleased to say that they haven't got it wrong. I think this is a handsome looking beast. Look at it. And this is this kind of satin. I'm starting to really like these satin finish paints. I normally don't, but I must admit it really suits this car. It's called Frozen Deep Grey, and it is absolutely lovely, and it shows the car off really well. Let's start with the styling, as I say. So you've got your lovely kind of swept-backed headlamps here. They're quad headlamps. Doesn't look at it first, but you've got the little individual sort of like DRLs that sort of like split them into 4 different lamp units. Also as well, you get the BMW iconic glow grille, which obviously isn't a grille, on the M60 as standard. Of course, that's a little LED light that goes around there that kind of glows at night, and I really do like it. The grille, they haven't gone down the route like they have with sort of like the i4 or the i7 and done this great big brash thing. It's subtle as a new BMW can be, but it's in proportion, and it's just nice, and it gives lovely sculpting to the bonnet. I love the lines that go on the bonnet, and of course again the BMW badge just nestled in the centre there, which is absolutely divine. Now, in the petrol hybrid models, this is a proper grille, but obviously on the i5 it's not, because you don't need it. So it is smoothed over. However, it does get the big kind of square kind of sensor there for a lot of the tech, the forward guided cruise control. There's a huge amount of autonomy coming on the 5 Series. We'll talk about that a little while, but that's the sensor for it. Nicely, neatly integrated little front camera there, and then obviously all your cooling is done down at the bottom, and you've got your kind of vents coming in the side there and down here. Now you can have this black area here done in a carbon fibre finish, but I have to admit I don't think I'd bother. I quite like it. It's not quite as kind of the massive contrast that you get on the i7M model, where it's really noticeable that it's all kind of black. But I suppose in a lighter colour it would maybe stand out more, but I have to admit I do like it just the way that it is. But it's got a mean kind of aggressive sort of look at the front, just like the 5 Series always has had. I really like it. Now as we move around the side, there's a lot of nice panel work on the car. There's a nice surfacing detail, and it reminds me a little bit of Chris Bangle's era, where they did that kind of flame surfacing on the panels of some of the cars. And again, it's the same here, and it just gives the car a really sort of like a handsome profile. There's effectively one line that just sort of like runs from the top of this wheel arch all the way up and round the back to the boot lid over there, and then one more here that just kind of sweeps up. You'll see there, and of course you get contrast black there. Wheel sizes start 19-inch on the eDrive 40. These are the 20s that you get as standard on the M60. You do have a further option of 21s, but I've not driven the 21-inch wheels, I've not driven the 19-inch wheels, but I do like the level, the balance of comfort and road holding that you get with these 20s, so I'd probably stick with those, and I think they just look about right as well. Of course you get the nice red calipers as well, because it's the M division. Of course your little M badge there with your little tricolore kind of colour there. Same with the mirrors, you get your aero mirrors here that you normally do in an M car. And nice flush door handles. Now they do actually, oh, I've just locked it, well done. What have I done there? They do actually, I'll revert to the key, which is massive. Look at that size. Isn't it weird that you can open cars now on your mobile phone, but BMW still insisting giving you something the size of a mobile phone as a key? Look, the door handles there, they say they're flush, but they do actually work as a door handle. Right, this is nice. This is the kind of traditional Hofmeister kink, the kind of tradition of the BMW kind of styling of the sort of like 3 and 5 Series that you get. And it's nice because in here you get the little embossed 5 now for the 5 Series. And the boot lid, which you'll obviously see as we go around the back, slopes. Now I think that's really quite nice, because it reminds me of the 5 Series from the 1970s, the E12 model, that just reminds me of that kind of sloping sort of like rear end. So I do like that. And then the rear lights there. Handsome car in profile, but as I say, overall I think it's a good looking car and way more interesting to look at than a Mercedes-Benz EQE. Do you see what I mean about that kind of boot lid kind of sloping down like that E12 from I think the 1975 E12? Anyway, there you go. I really like that. I think it's a real nod to their heritage, whether it's deliberate or not, but I do like it. M60 model, you get this nice little kind of just this really subtle boot lid lip spoiler that runs across the width of the boot lid. These nice tail lamps that wrap around the side and into the boot lid itself. Of course your BMW roundel with the blue tinge round it, because it's the electric one. Your little i5 badge there and your M60 badge on the side. The only bit that I might just question is this kind of plasticky diffuser area down here. It looks a little bit fussy, and I think you can option it up as carbon fibre, but again I wouldn't. But I'd say you choose it on a dark colour and it kind of blends in. But yeah, as I say, this is a handsome looking car, I think, and BMW's best design for goodness knows how long, to be honest with you. But again, that's my thought. What do you think? You're the ones that might be buying this car. Do you like it? Is this? Do you agree with me? Do you think BMW have struck the right chord with the new i5? Do you think they're still sort of like playing the sort of like the radical styling card too much? Would you prefer something more subtle, or would you have preferred something more radical than this? Do you think it should have the big buck-toothed demented rabbit grille in the front like the i7 and the i4? As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, like its two main rivals, the Mercedes-Benz EQA and the Genesis electrified G80, the i5 is a 3-box saloon, so it's got a boot at the back. It does have one of these swipey things, you know, where you can kick underneath it and get it to open, but it only works every third attempt for me. So I'll use the old-fashioned way here, handle. Electric boot lid. Now, 490 litres is in there. And also, just a little thing here, for all you people out there that comment on things and wonder, do we actually take notice of what you say? We do, because look, I've gone and got myself a golf bag, because a couple of you have said, will cars take golf sticks? Well, I don't play golf, but I've gone and got myself a bag so I can show you. There you go. So not only did we get the 4 AutoEV suitcases in, I'll need to get some bats or whatever to go in there, but not only do you get the 4 AutoEV suitcases in, but you also get a big golf bag as well. So there you go. Decent underfloor storage in there as well, so the cables are in bags underneath there, and the boot itself is quite nicely kind of trimmed and lined, and obviously you get things like first aid kit in there and a couple of little hooks just to hang things off. You can also flip the rear seats down as well, so the rear seat backs will fold down to give you a much longer load base. If you need to carry longer items, they will fold down. But yeah, there you go. Very, very practical. But if that's not enough for you, you know what's coming? A touring model. So for everyone that thinks that the SUV has killed off the estate, BMW don't think it has, because this is going to come out with a touring body style, and I cannot wait for that. Volvo, take note, the estate car is not dead. Back seat. Oh, aye. That's plenty of room in here. There's loads of space. Okay, it's not as big as the i7, but you wouldn't expect it to be, but this is more than adequate enough. You know, there is a centre transmission tunnel, because obviously it's going to come with a combustion engine. So that's the downside. So it does have a centre tunnel. So obviously for a third person here, that's going to be an issue. But for 4, absolutely no problem at all. That's my driving position. As you know, I'm 5'8". I've got acres of knee room. I've got enough foot room. Does the floor feel pushed up? No, I don't think it does actually. And there's actually quite a nice length to the squab. It kind of slopes down at your bum. So it does give enough kind of support underneath the legs. There's some nice little touches here. So you get digital kind of climate controls in the back. Heated rear seat in this particular one as well. So that's quite nice. Tiny little storage tray there. 2 USB-C ports. And another one in there, and also another little kind of flip down thing, because I think you can buy accessories for like iPad holders and stuff, so that's good. So that's there. Door bins, yep, they're nice, not particularly well lined, they're just kind of plastic at the bottom, but they feel solid enough. And then obviously you get the nice kind of speakers integrated into the door as well. Now this particular one's got the blinds. It doesn't have the electric blinds of the i7, but you've got the kind of rear sun blinds there and on the side there, which is quite nice. And this one's got the panoramic roof fitted, again, where you've got a kind of blind that can go across it and kind of keep it all nice and cosy. So that's good. Right, oh, what else have we got? We've got a flip down armrest, we have indeed, and we've got 2 cup holders that are rubber lined on the bottom, so that's nice. So they'll take your water bottles. Is that a flip down centre section? Is it? Load through? No? No, probably not. Never mind, that's all right. It does have the split fold seat. Isofix points, I love the fact they're nice and easy to get to. They've just got plastic covers that just flip up, and they're nice and easy to get to. But yeah, as I say, in terms of space, absolutely loads of it. As I say, yes, you're interrupted by that transmission tunnel, because as I say, you're obviously going to have combustion engines in the 5 Series, whereas the EQE doesn't have that, because obviously it's a dedicated EV from day one. But otherwise, I don't think there's a huge amount to complain about back here. Plenty of space. Right, up front. Successful, very, very successful, I think. BMW's interiors have been getting better and better and better again. I remember when we first drove the i4, and Charlie, my colleague, he said it was a bit weird. He found the kind of juxtaposition of the kind of modern tech, but the kind of old switchgear down here. He said it was a real, he said he just didn't like the kind of combination. And since that car, BMW have been sort of like, you know, moving away from a lot of physical switches. There are still some, and it's not a perfect interior. There are faults with it, which I will show you, but it's good. It's nice. I like the style of it. I do like the design of it. Right, so what have you got? Well, of course, you've got your usual two screens that are in this kind of curved display behind the steering wheel. And this one's fairly configurable, the one in front of the driver. So you can, you know, if I press this, you know, you use your thing, use the little scroll wheels, you can choose the kind of layout that it has. So you can move them all kind of in, or what else can you do? You can obviously move them out, you can do the hokey cokey, you can turn around. No, you can have it fairly blank and then just a very kind of minimalist looking dash. But then you can also have, you can change the content that you see in the center as well. So if you want sort of like a navigation in there, you can put your maps in there, your turn by turn navigation goes in there, your augmented reality navigation, which uses the front camera and brings you up as, see, you get your little camera view there. That's fairly good. So there's a huge amount of configuration that you can change depending obviously on what you want. So that's good. Then you get this screen across here, which is a touch screen. So you can use it just as a touchscreen. The only thing I will say, this is one of the bugbears that I've got, that there is a lot in here. There's a huge amount in here. So if you want to go in and adjust stuff, you've really got to kind of search for it. So you can take the shortcuts there. That just limits it all to the kind of infotainment side. And then there's another shortcut button here to go vehicles, but you know, it's still a lot. Buried in these menus. You also get the brilliant iDrive controller, so you can use it as you always have been able to. And it's crystal finished in this particular car. This has got the optional kind of crystal pack, which I have to say I like. I really do like. I'm kind of used to it. So you get the crystal iDrive, the crystal transmission controller, and the volume control for the radio here. That's nice, the little thumb wheel. I like these little thumb wheels for volume. And then you've got kind of shortcut buttons behind them, which are capacitive. So nav, telephone, media, home, just take you straight to home. What's that one? That's a return button. And then camera, parking camera, you can bring those up there. Now, that's one of the other things that they've done in this. For some reason, this car's got a camera up here where you can take a selfie of yourself. I don't know why. But, I mean, vanity strikes, you know, when you've got a camera in the car to take a picture of yourself. However, it does add on another layer of security, because what you can do is you can use the cars and the camera when you're away from the car to see what's going on round about it on your BMW app on your phone. So it gives you another layer of security for the car, which is a good thing from that point of view. So yeah, that's my bugbear there. You've got to kind of go into menus to find stuff. There is a voice recognition, but it doesn't really work as well as, say, stuff like the Google operating system, like I've got in my Renault Megane, or the, you know, or you get in the Polestar. So yeah, it's not as good. Also as well, your climate controls, they are permanently on. In other words, they're on at the bottom of the screen there. So when you touch them, you know, you can quick access to your ventilated seats option in this car, heated seats and heated steering wheel, or just adjust your temperature up and down like that. But then the middle button there to actually get the climate menu up, the little fan button, you know, when you're driving, that's a bit, you know, to find that at a glance is quite annoying. It might have been better if they'd had the climate menu as one of these menus, so it brings that up immediately, you know, a shortcut button. That might have been an idea to have there. Because obviously as we're moving towards, you know, the nanny state, there's now controls out that see if you take your eyes off the road. You know, that's going to happen next year. It's going to be law. It monitors your eye movement. Well, I'm sorry, car manufacturers, but if you're going to bury things in screens, then you're asking people to take their eyes off the road. So it seems a bit daft. Anyway, that's another thing. So that's my gripe there. You've kind of got to go into too many screens to get, you know, shortcut to what you want. There's vents underneath here, and they're controlled here. So there's two controls for them. So you can adjust it up and down with this little kind of rubber bung here, which is quite nice, from the left to right. And also you can adjust the kind of airflow that comes out of them by this slider control here, which is nice. Then you've got the heated rear screen, maximum defrost, and of course your hazards. And see, when you put your hazards on, the whole thing flashes red. Love that. That's the other thing I do like about it, the colours that you get in this kind of crystal pack around the car, the ambient lighting. Because depending on the mode you go into, where's my modes? There. If I go into my modes, here we go, and I press Sport, see, all glows red now. In fact, at night, what it's really nice is you've actually got on the door panels, it blends from the red into the blue into the purple. So you've got the tricolore colours of the M department. That I love. That I really like. What else have you got? Efficient mode, what does that do? It kind of brings it kind of greeny, can't really see, bluey greeny. And then expressive mode. Oh, there you go, it goes a bit yellow and blue. And as usual, you've got Hans Zimmer doing the noises in the car. So you've got Zimmer in your bimmer. Let me take that off because that's a really annoying noise. Just put it back on sport. Right, so that's good. I like that. Right, good head-up display as well, which you can also adjust the amount of content you see on it. That's nice. Storage, excellent. You've got cup holders at the front here, which is big enough for my water bottle and coffee flask. And then you've got a wee bin in here, which will probably take a packet of Polos, but you're not going to get much else in there. But you do get this here, you get this tray here, which is really odd because you think it's 2 wireless charging pads, but it's not. It's only one, which is on the right hand side. Why did you not put 2 in, BMW? That's a bit mean. There you go. Door bins, good size of door bins, they're excellent. And you get a glove box, big enough for your gloves. Seats are excellent. Absolutely love the seats. I've done loads of miles in this car. I've had this car longer than I normally have a press car for. And I've done loads of big trips in it. I'm doing another one tomorrow, and it's absolutely beautifully comfortable. The seats, you know, they are just blissfully, they hold you well. My only gripe, and it's my usual gripe with the BMW M product, steering wheel's too thick. In my opinion, I don't like this obsession with thick steering wheels that BMW's M department have. Can we please have thinner rims like we used to get in the E36 M3 and my old Z3M Roadster? I really like the thin rims on those. I don't need a big fat rim on it, but there you go. Other than that, it's a really, really nice interior. The quality is exceptional, as you'd expect for BMW. Everything just feels nice. It's the first 5 Series that's coming out with a non-leather interior. So this is the Veganza trim, I think they call it, which is a man-made leather. And you'd never know. I mean, it's obviously vinyl, but it's my daughter commented on how soft it felt the other day, how much she liked the seats in it, because she said they feel really nice and soft. Not in a sense they don't support you, but just the actual, to the touch, the material feels really nice. So that's an interesting sort of viewpoint. So from a sustainability and ecological point of view, they've concentrated hard on that. But the build quality is excellent. This is standard fare BMW. It's now getting easy to use. There's just a bit too much things you got to go into on the screen to find, but the comfort is off the scale. The driving position's excellent. Storage is average. So yeah, good effort. It's exactly as you expect a 5 Series to be, in fairness. Now, all i5s get an 81 kilowatt hour battery, which should give a WLTP figure on this M60, this all-wheel drive M60, of 320 miles. I think the eDrive 40 pushes that up to 360 miles because it's a single motor, but same size of battery. Reality is, I've been seeing sort of like 230 to 250 miles. Now, 2 caveats I'll put on that. First of all, I'm filming in November, so the ambient temperature is lower than you'd get obviously in the summertime. And most of what I've been doing, in fact, pretty much everything I've been doing with the car has been all motorway work, you know, which is never the great idea. So, but even so, it's a little bit down on those figures. I would expect if you were being a little bit careful with the car, you could maybe see in excess of 250 miles, but that's what I've been getting round about there or thereabouts. Right, charging speeds, excellent. 205 kilowatt charging speeds it'll take. So your benchmark 10 to 80% is in your usual 30 minutes from one of those ultra rapid chargers like Ionity or something. So that's excellent as well. The car also comes with an onboard 11 kilowatt charger as standard. So if you had that 11 kilowatt facility at home, then you're charging up this battery in round about, I think it's between 7 and 8 hours. But if it's your more likely 7 kilowatt wall box that you've got, then it's going to take around about 13 hours to go from flat to full. Now, the M60, the i5 M60 is X-Drive, so all-wheel drive. So it's got 2 motors, one at the front and one at the back, obviously, whereas the eDrive 40 is a single rear-mounted motor. It is hugely powerful, 600 brake horsepower. But interestingly, with this car, whereas the smaller, the i4 M50, which again is a hugely powerful car, I felt there that the chassis it struggled a little bit to deploy the power. Just a little bit. It felt like it almost overwhelmed the chassis on the i4. The 600 horsepower doesn't seem to overwhelm the i5. It seems happy just to poodle around like this, or when you absolutely take it by the scruff of the neck, you can really throw it around. You do start to feel its weight at that point, because obviously it's a big saloon car, you know, and it's obviously an electric one, so it's going to be heavy. But still, it manages the 0 to 60 sprint in 3.8 seconds, which is quick, really quick. Now, there's different driving modes, as you'd expect. You've got this My Modes button here, and as I say, depending obviously on what you want, so if I press it, you know, you go into, say, Sport mode, the seats tighten up, the dash glows red, you know, as I say, you get the kind of BMW M colours through this crystal applique that's round the car. It's really nice, and the throttle sharpens up quite a bit. The steering's worthy of note. So I'm just about to be driving into the sun, so apologies about this. The steering is worthy of note because it has rear wheel steering, but it's not a huge amount, and it steers just a tiny bit of degree in the opposite direction, so it makes the car very manoeuvrable. But also what you find at speed, the steering weights up really nicely. The only downside I can say about it is I feel the wheel is a little bit too thick, the rim of the wheel, but as I say, that's a BMW M trait. You always find that they always put too thick a rim on the car, in my opinion. Right, the other thing the M60 gets is the M Sport adaptive damping, the adaptive suspension. It sits 20mm lower than the eDrive 40 as well, and you've also got a 48 volt active roll stabilisation system in the car, which works beautifully. You can really feel it. You go into a bend with this car, and not only is there a huge amount of grip, not only is there a really nice amount of steering feel, but you also get a really well controlled body as well. So in other words, there's no roll in the car. You don't feel the car roll at all. If there was a trade-off, you could argue that at lower speeds on harsher surfaces, the ride, it's not uncomfortable, but you notice the ride quality is firmer. But that's always been the case with BMW M sport cars. You always find the ride just as a little bit of detriment, but the trade-off is that superb body control and that really, really nice level of grip, and just the fluency in which you can string bends together. This is a really excellent car in terms of that. Now, in terms of the performance as well, when you're in any of the modes, you have one paddle behind the steering wheel here that says boost on it, and what that does is it doesn't increase the power, so you've still got that 600 horsepower all the time, irrespective of what you're doing. But when you pull on this paddle, what you then get is 10 seconds of increased torque, and you can see the little countdown here just as you accelerate there. So it goes from 795 newton meters of torque up to 820 newton meters of torque, just for that 10 seconds to give you that extra bit of boost, maybe say during an overtake manoeuvre, because obviously 600 brake horsepower just isn't enough. But the car feels exceptional on the road. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it kind of shrinks around you, and feels like a little agile sports car. It doesn't, but what it feels like is a really well sorted and beautifully engineered sports saloon. An M5, BMW M5, is a slightly sharper tool. It's a more kind of scalpel sharp, in certain areas of it. This is more like a hammer. But there are some jobs where you just need a hammer, and this is it. This car on the road is phenomenally good. If the eDrive 40 is a better drive than this, then that will be absolutely sensational, because this is superb, really good. Right, let's talk about a few other things. So as I say, you've got your different drive modes. You've got Sport, you've got Express. What did I say? Sport. What's the other ones? Expressive, efficient, relax, and digital art. No idea what digital art is. And then there's a personal one where you can set it up yourself. That little whomp that you've just heard, let's talk about that. So the car has a huge amount of safety tech on it, as you would expect, and these things are now sort of becoming pretty much standard across all cars, because it's going to be law. It's a speed limit warning, and as soon as you go above the speed limit, you get the little thing there tells you the speed. See, you get a little. Now I'm in a 50 limit, I'm doing 52, but it does it 3 times and then stops. You can switch it off, but it will cut, and it tells you it will come back on when you restart the car. So you've got no option on that. You've got to keep turning it off all the time. And that goes back to what I was saying about the screen, the menus. It's quite deep into a menu, so you tend to find you don't switch it off. You leave it on, which gets quite annoying after a little while. There's lane keep assist, as you would expect. There is a level of autonomy now. I think it's level 2 autonomy that you get with the i5, and as it's going to move towards more autonomy in cars, which I despise the thought of, the car will allow you at some stage, to take your hands off the wheel, and it will do lane change for you and all that kind of stuff. Not interested in all that personally. To me, this is a driver's tool, and it needs to be as such. You need to drive the car, but it's there. You've got all of that kind of stuff on it, and obviously things like radar guided cruise control, cameras all around the car as well. So in terms of safety equipment, it's massive. There's a huge amount. So you've got all of that. The car itself feels very solid on the road. There's a solidity to a BMW when you drive it. And this is one thing that you'll find with this car. It sits well, as I say, it's well planted. The chassis been tuned to deliver not just a sporty drive but a comfortable drive. I've done mostly motorway work with this car in my time with it, and on the motorway it is beautiful, in terms of its body control. Oddly enough, it doesn't have acoustic glass, so there's a tiny little bit more wind noise than you'd maybe get obviously something like the i7, but it's not disruptive at all. But I am a little bit surprised that they didn't put acoustic glass on the car. The brakes, well, they're worth a mention as well, because again, it's making you drive the car. There's a nice pedal feel to it, so when you stand on the pedal, you get a really nice, it hauls you up really well. There is a level of brake regen. You pull this back and go into B, and then it brings the car to a complete stop. So it's one pedal driving. So you go from drive into B, and it gives you absolute one pedal driving. So you do have that, and then just flick the lever back to go back into drive. Simple as that. I really like sort of like certain cars where they just have a really kind of simple user interface that allows you to sort of like alter all of this quickly. It's like Hyundai and Kia with the paddles behind the steering wheel. My Renault Megane has that as well. You've got the paddles behind the wheel to adjust the amount of regen that it gives you. And here you just bring it back to B. But unlike say like Stellantis cars where it just brings it down to a creep, it will actually bring this to an absolute halt, which is great. Visibility is good. As I say, the driving position is excellent. You get a nice view down the side of the car. You've got good door mirrors. There's a lot of glass in the car. The big panoramic roof. That's a worthwhile addition because they say it floods the car light. First time a 5 Series has had a panoramic roof, by the way, in this 8th generation car, so there you go. Yeah, I mean, what more is there to say? Performance that is just incredible, but it doesn't feel at odds. At the moment I'm just following a little learner driver here and we're going through a width restriction. It doesn't feel like the car's aching to jump away and move or anything like that at all. It's just, I don't know, it just feels as usable as a 520i, but you've got 600 horsepower at your disposal. You've got a dollop of torque that's just just there for the taking. It is an incredibly usable car, this. And when we drove the Tesla Model S Plaid, which I suppose is a rival for this car in some respect, given its price and performance, and I said in that car that as much as I like it, it was sort of struggling to find its place. This isn't. This knows its place. It is an exceptionally well balanced, beautifully engineered sports saloon, and I think BMW have done an incredible job with this car. It is a superb car to drive, really is. There's very little to fault here, folks. Very little to fault, and that stuff that you can fault feels like you're nitpicking. Go on. Rah! I love it. Absolutely love it. Price. Well, the range starts with the eDrive 40 currently at £74,000, but if you want to move up to the M60, which obviously this car is, you're going to need to find £98,000. However, this particular car that I have, this test car, and bear in mind it's not got all the option boxes ticked, is £114,895, which is a lot. Well, you know, I say it's a lot of money, and of course it is a lot of money, but you're going to need similar, in fairness, if you're looking at one of this car's main rivals, which is the EQE AMG 53. That's not exactly a cheap car. So what else could you possibly be looking at if you're looking at the i5 M60? Well, the Genesis electrified G80 is probably more of a rival for the eDrive 40. In fairness, because obviously it's starting price, because Genesis very much kind of err on the side of kind of luxury rather than sports. So you're probably looking at sort of like, as I say, the eDrive 40 as a thing with as a competitor for that, if you like. So if you're looking at the M60, then maybe you're also going to look at two of my other favourite cars, the Porsche Taycan and the Audi RS e-tron GT perhaps. So those two cars are probably cars you would certainly look at if you were considering this. We've also seen another new car. In fact, actually, we've seen a production version launched this week. We've only seen it in concept cars so far in sort of like prototypes, which is Polestar 5, which is their kind of sort of like large 5-door. No, it's not 5-door, is it? It's sort of like 4-door booted sort of like large GT/saloon car. So that's another car that's coming out, and I would think price-wise, it's probably going to be somewhere similar to this sort of car. So there's not a huge amount out there if you want to go down the large saloon route rather than the sort of like the ubiquitous SUV route, but the competition that is there is very good. So here's what we like and what we don't like about the new BMW i5 M60. Well, we like its styling, its performance and dynamics, the chassis balance, the comfort, the quality, and its do-it-all ability. We don't like, well, we think maybe its efficiency could be a little bit better. There's no doubt that it is expensive. Some of the general functions in the interior could be more easily accessible. And until we drive it, we're not sure whether or not the cheaper eDrive 40 might still be the pick of the i5 range. This car isn't perfect, nor is it cheap. And at this price, should we expect a level of competency that's as close to perfection as you can get? Undoubtedly. But the flaws that this car have are so small and they're so few and far between, and such is the brilliance of the rest of it, that I'm almost willing to overlook them. In fact, I'm almost willing to go as far as to say this. I don't think there is a more complete car on sale today than this new BMW i5. Because there hasn't been a scenario where I've had it over the last 2 weeks that it hasn't excelled at. Running locally, dropping my daughter to drama club, taking her to a friend's house, taking friends of ours to sort of like the local scout bonfire night, sitting in a thunderstorm on a commuter jammed M1, last week, or bombing up and down the motorway like I have been. There just doesn't seem a scenario where the car is phased it at all. Now, there is a nagging doubt in me that says that maybe the eDrive 40 might be the pick of the range, but until we drive it, I can't be certain about that. But let me say this, for the moment, as far as I'm concerned, this car is absolutely sensational. Now, we may bemoan the fact that BMW hasn't maybe given us the innovation that we first saw with the i3, but what they've actually been doing, in fact, is giving us exactly what they want, and that is BMWs that are electric. And this new i5 is the very best of those. Thank you for watching yet another episode of AutoEV. As always, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Then once you've done that, press the little bell button that's down below so you receive notification when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and of course don't forget, leave us your comments down below. What's your thoughts on the new BMW i5? Have you driven it? Have you got one on order? Have you got the old 5 Series? Would this tempt you? Or do you think the Mercedes-Benz EQE is a better car? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, don't forget, we're across all social media platforms as well, so Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, we're all there as well, so give us a follow there because that does help us. And if you have enjoyed it, or maybe this is your first time to the channel and you're wondering what we're all about, stick on the YouTube channel. There's loads of videos on there, not just road test reviews, but sneak peeks, twin tests, used car buying advice, motorbike reviews, van reviews, even some electric icons. All that remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching. Thank you for continuing to support AutoEV. I will see you again soon.